When Rugby Sevens was developed by two Scotsmen, Ned Haig and David Sanderson, for a charity event in 1883, no one thought that it would become a worldwide phenomenon and even an Olympic sport in 2016. Today, Sevens is played in more than 100 countries, and the World Rugby Sevens Series is a regular feature on the international sporting calendar.
The evolution of Sevens has been something truly incredible. You know, we can chat for hours about it. 1999 was the kind of start of the World Series Sevens tournament, which was the start of the different legs that took place throughout the season. And I think, I'd say probably over the last 4 or 5 years, Sevens has really grown a lot, because I think there's been a bit of a shift in terms of what people want, a shift more towards instant gratification. So you see the likes of T20 cricket, you see the likes of Sevens rugby, you see the likes of UFC. Things that are exciting, they're a little bit quicker. The rules aren't as intricate. And I think also just maybe the package and entertainment value that's being offered. And I think Sevens has really gained a lot through that shift. Sevens was kind of always seen as something that's done after the season, something fun, not too technical, not too many things to worry about. And I think that's where the game's really evolved over the last few years. Sevens has become very technical, and Sevens has become, and again, I like to use the cricket example, Test cricket and T20 cricket, they're two different types of players because they're two different types of games. And I think Sevens has really seen over the last few years the rise of the athletes. Rugby players have always been seen as these big, brawny guys, they get stuck in, whereas that's not really the profile of a Sevens player. A Sevens player is more of an athlete that has kind of honed his or her rugby skills.
Sevens is all about running rugby and non-stop action. Its multitude of tries and high-impact tackles appeals to people from all backgrounds and groups, a world sport that conquers many barriers.
Sevens is truly a global game. You have teams from Asia, you have teams from South America, North America, Polynesia, Europe. It's incredible. Hong Kong has always been known as the home of Sevens. That's the tournament where everybody wants to play it. It's the most desired cup to win, and I think that's been a really big part of growing the game. Also, Hong Kong not really a rugby stronghold. You think of rugby strongholds, you think of New Zealand, South Africa, England, France, and I think for me that's the beauty of Sevens. Is you look at the rise of the USA, you look at the rise in the women's game of France, of Canada. It's really leveled the playing field, and it's allowed, I think, more countries just to kind of come to the fore and enjoy the game of rugby.
South Africa, with its rich rugby history, has consistently been in the top 3 of the world and even won a bronze medal at the last Olympics.
The sport of Sevens truly arrived, I think, in 2014 when it was announced as an Olympic sport, and that's where I think a lot of the teams, or a lot of the countries with Olympic programs really sunk their teeth in and got on board. To have won a bronze medal there was massive.
But the success didn't happen overnight. Long-term planning and a mind shift in rugby had to happen.
Historically, especially when I started playing Sevens, it was the guys that couldn't make it in 15s. Whereas now it's completely different. Sevens players they stand alone, they stand on their own, they are superstars of general world rugby. And that's where the fundamental shift has come. In 2008, Paul Delport, who was the previous coach before Neil Powell, he contracted the first group of fully contracted Sevens players. And that sparked something in the world of Sevens, because that year the guys won the World Series. And that was the first time South Africa had won the World Series. And just after that, the rest of the world followed suit. They understood that this is the way Sevens needs to go. In 2010, Marius, Schoeman and Neil Powell, along with Paul Delport, started our National Sevens Academy. And that has been the strength of our Sevens program. Everybody else in the world followed suit after that.
I must say, so the men's Sevens, we've been working hard a couple of years now, just establishing that base. We've got a nice feeder system in the academy. We are 3 times world champion. This year qualifies for Olympic Games for next year.
What the guys have done over the last 10, 12 years has been monumental. They've been pioneers of something.
The South African Sevens women's team has been representing on the world stage, and can count themselves unlucky for not bringing more silverware home.
Obviously very disappointing from a women's perspective because the ladies qualified through the African qualifiers to go, and SuperSport made the decision not to send them. So we're obviously looking to qualify again this year and then hopefully go to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Recent years have seen them go through a building phase.
Women's sevens fairly new, so yeah, I think they 10 years behind the men.
On the men's side, there's a pipeline for sevens men because there's natural boys playing 15-man code, and then from that you can pick boys playing the 7-man code. But in women, there just wasn't that pipeline, and we looked at the idea of talent transfer from netball and hockey and those kind of things. But at that stage, there wasn't real funding for it. It wasn't, when we look at it, it wasn't something that was a realistic thing. And 7 years later, they managed to make it work with help, obviously, from a few sponsors.
At the moment, New Zealand and Australia, they're the world leaders in sevens rugby. But we're really investing at the moment.
The ladies have also stepped up in their own way. I always say the ladies punch so far above their weight. They really do well. I mean, we don't get to compete at international competitions as much as we'd like to, but when they do compete there, they really punch above their weight. So the current standing of women's sevens rugby in South Africa, we've got 8 fully contracted players who are incredible women. They are role models, they're the consummate professionals, and they really get stuck in. We're very lucky to be based here at SAS, to be based alongside the national men's senior team and the men's academy side, so we kind of run things congruently, which is fantastic. It's the best way for it to work in terms of development. But in terms of pathways and feeder systems and things, we are behind. And I think it's really important for us to get on board with a shift that was made years and years ago with the countries with proper Olympic programs. And that shift was to garner more interest from athletes, from crossover athletes. Because at the moment, the profile of a South African women's player in South Africa is not really conducive to sevens. In terms of 15s, we do incredibly well. We've got a really well-run junior structure.
After the break, we meet the coach and captain of the SA Women's Sevens team and hear about their incredible Becoming Imbokodo journeys. Every good team starts with a great coach. At the helm is Paul Delport. He's been involved with rugby since a young age and has an immense passion for the game.
So my rugby career started at Sax Junior School. I think it was just par for the course. If you went to an all-boys school, you played rugby, and it was pretty much that simple. I was never really any good when I was young. I was always the smallest, and I was very scared. So my dad always used to say I was always the one standing on the far side, hoping no one would pass the ball to me, or the swarm of bees, as we call it, wouldn't kind of congregate around me. And then I think later on, kind of when I was 12 or 13, I was lucky enough. Well, I went into puberty and then stopped growing very quickly. Being 5'4", it is quite tough. And I think from there, just getting a bit of a love for the game. Moments that stand out to me, just schoolboy rugby in general. I think high school, because it got a bit more competitive. And high school I can liken to the sevens setup, because high school you played with your best friends every day, and I really enjoyed that. And then that's what it felt like in the sevens system. It didn't really feel like that for me in the 15 setup. And not that the guys weren't fantastic guys. It's big squads. They're groups of 40 or 50 guys. You don't really get to know everybody that well. So memorable moments for me, definitely schoolboy days. Definitely, I think winning the Under-19 World Cup in 2003, the Under-21 World Cup in 2005, and then winning the World Series in 2008, 2009 with the sevens. That was fantastic. And then I think also, it happened so quickly for professional players. My last season was 2013. I didn't think I was going to retire, but I was forced to after that. And just having won the last tournament that I played in, the tournament that I actually got injured in, was something that I'll always look back on fondly. We were up against it a bit. We had 2 of our star players out, actually 3. We had Carl Brown out, who was our captain. We had Cecil Africa out and Branko Dupree out. So nobody gave us a chance. And with Siabelo Sanatla and Justin Gedult and a few of the youngsters coming through and playing so well in that tournament, we ended up winning. That's a really fun memory. So the transition into coaching was, all I can say, it was luck. I'm a social worker by trade, so I was readying myself to go back into that kind of thing. I didn't really want to, and I was just really in the right place at the right time. At that stage, Paul True had decided to move away from the South African Sevens team and head off to Kenya, and Neil Powell, who was the academy coach, took over as the head coach of the Blitzboks, and Marius Schoeman needed some help at the academy, and Marius and I had known each other for years. When I started playing sevens, Marius was one of the stalwarts, and he was someone that really took me under his wing, and I always enjoyed working with him. So him and Rassie Erasmus just basically asked, "Hey, do you want to coach?" And my answer was, "Well, I don't really know if I can do anything else, so yes, please." And it's kind of grown from there. I'm the type of coach that I'm very competitive. I am very OCD. I'm a perfectionist. So for me, it's been a real journey of getting to know myself, but also getting to know the players that I'm coaching. And I think for me, the type of coach I am is just about creating opportunities for the people that I'm coaching. For me, my only job is to ensure that they have an environment where they can grow and an environment that they enjoy being in. And I think it's easy enough for me. I always say it, I look at a lot of other guys that coach, they're so driven, and I can feel it's almost internal for them to do well, whereas I was lucky enough to have had a rugby career where it was great and it was fun, and my career's done. I'm definitely not one of those guys who wants to go back to playing, or is saying, but I could still do it better than that guy. I had my time and I really enjoyed it. And I think to have worked with so many incredible people. I worked with Eugene Eloff, with Chester Williams, with Jake White, with Paul True, with Neil Powell, with Peter de Villiers. And for me, it was just, all that knowledge that I was exposed to, I just wanted to give back. And I think that's where my kind of motive or motivation comes from.
One athlete who migrated from another sport to sevens rugby is the captain, Zintle Mpopa. This is her Becoming Imbokodo story.
I wasn't always a sevens rugby player. I used to be a cricket player, an all-rounder. Used to present the provincial team, border team, and the SA under-19s team as well. So basically, I had to choose sevens rugby over cricket now, because I couldn't do both at the same time. I couldn't be strong and be flexible at the same time. And yeah, unfortunately, I just had to choose sevens rugby. What's attracting me more to sevens rugby is physicality, and also scoring tries and running over people, and also being with a family, like the 8 people that I'm working with every day. And yeah, I think that's a very special thing. The team spirit is amazing amongst the 8 girls that are fully contracted and always together. I can say that the team spirit is more like a family now. We're not just on the field and then we're done with one another. We do spend time with one another off the field, get to understand each other more. My memorable highlight was when I scored the first try in my debut. It was in 2014 for the sevens as well. It was against Russia in Amsterdam. Being the captain of the Springbok women's sevens team is the easiest thing that I've ever done before. At first, I was just I was nervous. Like I'm not a very talkative person. At first, I thought to myself, no, why am I a captain? But then Coach Paul told me he's choosing me to be captain because I'm calm, because I can actually, when people are all angry and all wild and all that, I can just be calm and just get over the situation at the time. So I guess with this group that I'm actually captaining now, a lot of experienced players, is not a very difficult job, because they know that what are they doing, will know that what they have to do to get better, and they've been in the system for a very long time, so it's not like I'm alone. Sevens rugby is a very tough game. It's not for everyone. You have to be quick, you have to be strong at the same time. Most people think they're strong, and when they come to sevens rugby, they just can't keep up. A good sevens athlete should have good physicality, should be able to work under pressure, should be able to work hard enough, like beyond her abilities, like to push harder even if you feel like you can't anymore.
With the need for talent in sevens being identified, where and how do you find it? What are the coaches looking for? And is it actually possible to condition an athlete from one sporting code to another as physical and intense as sevens rugby?
Yeah, I think talent transfers without a doubt something that has been done. I think the Canadians even take top players and make them other sporting codes. And I think if you even think seven specifically in America, there's Perry Baker and Colin Iles, guys like that, who from athletics became brilliant sevens players. So that's without a doubt. But then again, I think specifically to South Africa, I think our South African women are pretty tough people.
It's definitely possible to convert a crossover athlete into rugby. Someone like Alyssa Conley, she didn't really express interest. We had to hunt her down a bit, and Tim and I actually flew up to Joburg last year to take her for dinner.
So Paul Delport called me, coach of the sevens women's team, and he mentioned this, that they're looking for speed within the team, and I told him, you're absolutely crazy, I'm fast, yes, but on the track, not on the field, and I've never played a team sport before. It's rugby. I've never been on a field, I've never been in a team sport, but I said to him, I'll introduce you to a couple of quick girls, that's fine. And I was extremely reluctant, I made up my mind that that's not going to happen, that's not for me, but he planted the seed. So I started track and field at the tender age of 4. It was always my dream to be an Olympian. I watched Marius Jones in the Olympics, and she was my aspiration, and she inspired me to get onto track. I raced for over 21 years. It's been a long career. I made a few championships. I represented SA at the age of 11 at my first school international championships, and I went on and just represented them at different international tournaments, and the biggest one being the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So as an athlete, I'm driven by challenge, and I have to feel anxious. I have to feel, fire when I'm competing, when I'm doing something. And from 2017, being left out of the World Championship team due to politics and, training really hard, it really got me down. But I decided to get back, train again, and I raced through 2018. I raced a race 2019 as well, but I just never got that fire and that burn and that excitement for athletics anymore. And, I just looked at myself, did some introspection, and decided I need a new challenge. And after 21 years of being on the track, ups and downs, highs and lows, I took up the rugby challenge. Tim called me, the sports conditioning coach, and he's like, we're in Pretoria, come through, come have a session, or just watch a session. And I was like, nah, I'm busy, I'm sorry, because it was never an interest, And a few months went by again, and all of a sudden I just contacted them and said, book me a ticket, I'm coming through. So in my sporting career, I've had a lot of injuries, and the first time that we announced that I'm going to try out this rugby thing, everybody was like, are you crazy? You have so many injuries, now you're going to rugby, that's worse, you're going to get even more injuries, things are going to happen. And obviously very intimidating, but the minute I made up my mind, I just went there with an open mind. I didn't listen to any outsiders information or comments or, And I went there with an open mind, and it is extremely difficult.
You look at an athlete who comes from a linear training pattern. Then when they come to rugby, you have to look at lateral movement, you have to look at stop-start, they're conditioned differently.
The first day I got there, I think they introduced me with a beginner crash course, and from there it just became tougher and tougher and tougher every day.
I actually run out of superlatives when I try and describe the type of person she is and how quickly she's taken to it.
With that being said, it's no wonder that there's new interest in the Springbok Sevens women's team from both fans, players, and the international rugby community.
Sevens is definitely very accessible at the moment. It doesn't matter from what background you come from, where you're situated. You can even play it on a smaller field if need be. And again, you look at 15s, it's very technical. So you have, the positions, what's expected from that position. It's very specialized. Whereas in sevens, you obviously have your positions, but once it's general play, everybody performs the same role. So everybody can play.
This is such an exciting initiative. We're going to go out there, We're going to get the girls from CrossFit, from netball, athletics, rowing, lots of sports, you know, and think about the opportunity we're creating for those ladies to hopefully one day go to Olympic Games.
I've been really involved with, with the Springboks in the World Cup the last few months, and I must give real credit to the whole high performance department, and especially guys like Louis Kuhn and Marius, Schoeman and Paul Delport. It was an idea that 7 years ago we really looked at that for the first time.
There've been a few plans bandied about over the years, this plan right here to go out and have open days, kind of NFL-style open days, was first put forward by John O'Mankeys, who was our ex-SNC. You know, he was always on board with this. He was saying, let's just garner interest in women's rugby and let's just bring athletes. Let's see who's keen to do it. And then we can kind of formulate a plan and see what we can do. And I think things have really been unpacked since then.
Yes, so if you have speed, agility, fitness, and obviously a big heart, and looking for opportunity, Sevens is the place to be. I think there's going to be talent that's going to come out, not just for Sevens, but for 15s as well. So it might be a new career move for a lot of the women out there.
We have incredible SNCs. Gents are incredible. I mean, they literally have programs for specific athletes making the transition. So it's certainly possible to convert a crossover athlete into a Sevens rugby player. We've got a fantastic base here at SAS that Saru have kind of set out for us, and we have a fantastic team. So I've got no doubt, getting ladies from crossover sports, it doesn't matter if you come from athletics or swimming or taekwondo. If you are willing to learn, you have a good attitude and you're athletic enough, we can definitely do the business.
Really looking forward to the testing days, the test batteries. It's going to be fun.
First of all, to Paul and his team, I first want to say congratulate to them and Castle Free to make this a reality, not just a program, a reality program, but to make this a reality. It was a dream of all of us 7 years ago. And to the ladies who's participating, even if you don't make it, at least you're part of a program. Maybe you're part of a reality program on TV. We'll all see you there. And eventually, if we do get a player with a professional contract, fantastic. If we don't get one, at least we will see how tough our South African ladies really are.
Next week, the hunt is on as Coach Paul Delport and his team scout Pretoria and Cape Town for potential players. Join us as raw rugby talent is molded into 7 Springboks in the process of becoming Imbokodo.